Hello everyone, my name is Cameron Stevens and I'm a local real estate agent here in Los Angeles and the owner of Stevens Real Estate. Today I want to talk about the current real estate market because, it's a little crazy, maybe more than a little crazy, and quite frankly, there is just a lot to discuss. I can't tell you the number of times that people have asked me to predict what is going to happen with this market, offer some kind of advice, which, I always try to explain as best as I can. But, I think the underlying question that everybody seems to really want to know is, when are prices going to fall? I hear a lot of talk about a bubble, the coming crash, how prices can't be sustainable, how if you buy now, you're buying at the top of the market and you're destined to lose, how it can't be possible to have 30, 40, 50 offers on a home. Well, I'm going to give you some statistics and facts, and then I'm going to offer you a few of my own opinions as to what's happening in this market as someone whose literal job it is to stay on top of all of this and advise my clients accordingly. And, one of the things I think would be helpful in explaining all of this is to do a comparison with some of the data from 2008, 2009, that real estate market, and really just compare that to what we are seeing today. So I'm going to do that a handful of times throughout this discussion. Okay, let's get started. One of the ways that we can evaluate a market is a data figure called months of supply. All this really means is that if you take an imaginary scenario where if every single person just stopped putting their house on the market for the indefinite future, how long would it take for all of the current buyers that are out there looking to buy a home to purchase everything that's on the market? Well, in 2008, that number vacillated depending on what month and area of the country, but it was anywhere between 9 and 13 months of supply. So in many cases, it would still take an entire year for anyone that wants to buy a house if no one put their house on the market again. Contrast that with what we are seeing right now. The national average is a little over 1 month, and in many places, including Los Angeles, that number is less than 1 month. So what does that mean? It means we have a major lack of supply. I mean, Los Angeles has always been known for not having a great amount of supply, but right now, we have a significant, above and beyond the normal lack of supply. And if we remember back to Econ 101, if supply is low and demand is high, well, we get higher prices. Okay, let's take a look at another figure, one that everyone keeps talking about, me included, and that is interest rates. Now, we have said that interest rates are at historic lows, but what were they really compared to not really that long ago in 2008? Well, back then, interest rates hovered between 6 and 6.5%. And you probably know this, but right now, interest rates are hovering somewhere around 3%. And there was actually a point last year where they were definitely below 3%. On top of that, the Fed has expressed that it is going to keep interest rates low through 2022 at least. So what do these historically low interest rates actually mean for this market? Well, with median home prices in Los Angeles breaking the 700,000 mark, let's just use that number as an example. At today's interest rates, that mortgage at 3%, around 3%, is going to be $2,783 at 3% exactly. That's not too shabby, right? Well, how about at 6%? Let's not even do 6.5%. Let's just do 6%. Try $3,957. Yeah, almost $4,000. And dollar for dollar, that same house today cost you $1,174 per month less. to own. How crazy is that? I mean, that is an absolutely massive difference, and it clearly has impacts on this market. That's why when we talk about interest rates, we really are talking mostly about purchasing power, because at the end of the day, unless you're paying cash for a home, you have a mortgage on the house and you have a monthly payment associated with that mortgage. Therefore, prices themselves aren't nearly as relevant to a home buyer. What they actually need to know is, what is the monthly payment at the interest rate that they can qualify for at a given price? And can they afford that? Right now, purchasing power is very, very strong due to these low interest rates. Let's take another metric, just sort of a more nebulous one, but how about how easy is it to actually secure that loan? Well, look, full disclosure, I was not an agent in 2008, but I have done plenty of reading and research on the subject, as well as watched The Big Short, which is a really excellent movie, by the way. Highly recommended. Back then, there were reports of little to no income verification, no credit reports, very little, if not zero, money down, and appraisers that got kickbacks for appraising homes at, well, whatever price was asked of them. Now, if you've bought a home recently, you know that the process for getting a loan is very intense. They do multiple checks for income and asset verification, including right up to the closing date, and there are now laws preventing lenders from even speaking to appraisers so that they are a completely independent verification of value. And finally, though, yes, we are seeing some instances of a lower down payment than the typical 20%, there are intense scrutiny of funds and credit scores. So basically, if you can't get a loan, you just can't get a loan anymore if you really can't afford it. New loan applications are at an all-time high, and lenders simply aren't lending unless you're very, very well qualified. Because of many of these changes after 2008, 2009, there's just a far greater amount of equity that homeowners have in their homes, which is actually a very, very good thing. Right now in the United States, the average homeowner has 50% equity in their home. And I think I remember one of the other numbers being that somewhere around 85% have more than 30% equity in their home. So basically, a really high number of people have a good chunk of money invested in their homes. These aren't people who have, literally no money that is in an asset that they own. What this significant amount of equity really means is that if things go sideways, homeowners have a lot of options. Either they can enter mortgage forbearance, where they get the missed payments tacked on to the end of the mortgage period, and then it's re-amortized over 30 years. Or they could simply refinance. They just pull out all of the equity that they have at these newer, higher price valuations. Or, hey, if they're really, really stuck, they just sell instead of being foreclosed upon. And they can take advantage of these high prices while getting to keep a good amount of their money because they've got that equity invested. These are the reasons why we're just not going to see a massive wave of foreclosures. So sadly, if that's your game plan, if that's what you're waiting for to happen, it's just not going to. Finally, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, the I word, inflation. Look, inflation is always a concern. It seems to be on the mind of anyone that's talking about fiscal policy in the past few years. And quite frankly, it should be. The United States is printing money to fund multiple rounds of major economic stimulus, especially due to COVID. And where there is money, when there's more money in circulation, it just means that the value of that money does go down. And thus, if the value of that money goes down, prices inevitably have to come up. That's actually why stagnant cash is not really a great thing, because by doing nothing, it inherently just sits there and loses value, usually to the tune of around inflation, which is 2%-ish a year. So you might be thinking, okay, this sounds like a problem. Yes and no. I mean, it has impacts for a wide variety of economic factors. And yes, rampant inflation, huge amounts of inflation, double digit inflation is definitely not great. But controlled inflation, predictable inflation is simply a part of monetary policy. It has been for many, many, many years. It just happens. And because of this, the prices of all things, not just houses, goes up due to inflation. If that sounds confusing, all you really need to know is that inflation is independent of the real estate market when it comes to judging the health of the market, but real estate is not immune to the effects of inflation either. That is a lot to digest there, a lot of moving parts happening, but let me try to summarize. This market has high prices due to low supply, low interest rates, and a little bit also because of inflation. Now, we won't see a crash or massive amounts of foreclosures due to the large amount of equity in, all of current homeowners. So, if that's not what's going to happen, then what do I actually think will happen? Well, I do think that more supply is coming on the market. I mean, fingers crossed. Vaccines are rolling out at an impressive rate. And generally speaking, the economic news looks good for this year overall, which means that anyone that's been kind of waiting to sell, maybe they've been nervous, maybe they've just been, rightly so, uncertain about the future, well, maybe it's not incredibly certain, but it's a lot more certain than it was right now. It is more right now than it was a year ago, that is for sure. Second, I do see prices plateauing and then eventually returning to their more normal 3 to 5% increase per year, not the double-digit price increase that we've been seeing in the recent years. It can't continue. It simply can't. It can't continue to rise upwards this fast forever. So an easing of prices is definitely in the future. But notice that I didn't say drop. I don't see anything in the economics that a price drop is in at least, the 5-year or less horizon. Look, longer than that, nobody can predict what's going to happen. But in the near-ish term, I certainly don't see a crash, and I really don't see a drop in prices at all. Only a bit of a softening of this upward trajectory. And I'll tell you why. Most of that is just based on boots on the ground observation that I've been doing working in this market. For example, the property that I recently sold got 15 offers. That means that 14 other people, they have to get right back out there and keep trying. And that was not an entry-level price point over $1 million. At entry-level price points, I recently competed against 36 offers, which means that 35 people, my buyers unfortunately included, we got to get back out there and we have to keep looking. I mean, Los Angeles specifically just does not have that kind of supply. And as long as demand is there, prices are simply going to continue to rise. So then, what advice do I have? Look, we should start out by saying that the best time to buy or sell is the best time for you personally. No one should be trying to time the market. And you should really be working on your own time frame that aligns with your housing and financial goals. Now, if you're someone who has considered selling because maybe you're looking to make a move, maybe you have to make a move, maybe you'd like to downsize, maybe you're retiring, now is a fantastic time to sell your home. This pent-up demand means that there are many, many, many willing buyers out there that are willing to compete to purchase your home. And if you're a buyer, you really just need to recognize that things are tough out there right now. You gotta be prepared by having all of your documents lined up and up to date, everything just locked and loaded so that you can go see properties immediately and quickly make offers efficiently. Most good homes are getting all of their showing dates booked within days of going on the market, and they'll be showing for maybe 3 to 4 days before all offers are due. That's it, and then it's over. So it is definitely very fast. It's moving just incredibly quickly. So speed is key, and working with somebody who can really keep you updated to the minute is very important. And just knowing that, unfortunately, you're going to have to make decisions very quickly too, and be flexible to go see houses. Also, you just need to know that almost everything is receiving multiple offers. Everything is going over the asking price. Sometimes even removing appraisal and loan contingencies, which I'm seeing more and more often. This is just the new normal for the time being. So if you want to play ball, you kind of just need to realize what the competition is at the moment. That being said, look, I'm going to be honest. If you're really on the fence about buying, I just can't say that now is a good time. This market is just too hot for someone who kind of thinks that maybe they might want to buy their first home. You're going to get eaten alive. But if you're serious and you're prepared, this market is still going to work out for you in the long term. And it will still be a far better option than staying on the sidelines, paying rent, and continuing to watch home prices go up and up. Whew, okay, that was a lot, I know. Thank you for watching. I really hope you learned something about this wild market that we're in. It just really does pay to be mentally prepared for what the reality of the situation is out there. And, like I said, I hope you learned something. If you did, subscribe, follow whatever platform you're on. And, hey, if you found this really valuable, I would incredibly appreciate you just sharing this video with somebody who could benefit by connecting with me. It's super simple. And, if you just hop on my website, there's a button that says book a consultation that connects directly to my calendar. And why not? At Stevens Real Estate, we offer a few value-adding programs for both buyers and sellers that really no one is offering. If you're interested in purchasing your first home, I absolutely love working with first-time home buyers, learning your story so we can create a full marketing plan that paints you as the right buyer for your dream home. We can also recommend local lenders that fit your unique financing situation, even if you happen to be freelance. And do not worry about the inspections. We've got you covered. We pay for all of them. They're free, no questions asked. And if you're looking to sell your home, we offer the ability to remodel now and pay when you sell with 0 fees, no interest, no upfront costs. Or if you just want to freshen your place up a bit, we have the Handyman Special where I pay $1,500 towards all those little fixes you've been putting off that can yield sometimes up to a 10x return on the money invested. Plus, we pay for all aspects of digital marketing, from photography and videography and drone footage and 3D walkthrough and virtual open houses, a custom social media campaign, custom website, targeted emails, and more. Thanks again for watching, and if you're on your phone, there should be a link down to CameronStevensRE.com, or if you're not on your phone, pop open your phone and scan this QR code to be taken directly to my website to learn more.